Hi everyone, my name is Lili Davoudian and I work on the Microsoft Defender for Cloud product team. I'm joined today by my colleague TJ Banasik from the Microsoft Sentinel group, and we're going to talk about the Microsoft Sentinel Zero Trust solution that we've recently released. This workbook is the second iteration of something that we released a few months back, and since then we've made a lot of really exciting changes that we're going to walk through today. We've seen a really growing user base for this community. We have over 5,000 users, and from this community we've gotten really great feedback about how we can make this workbook better and some changes that we can implement. We've put a lot of those in today that we'll walk through and we're really excited about. But as you engage with the workbook, we really encourage you to take the survey that we've posted as we listen and incorporate a lot of the feedback and are really looking to see how you're using this and what parts of it you like and have areas that we can improve on. What we have found is that we've been able to leverage a lot of the benefits we've seen in the products that we're pulling on. For example, we have had a much stronger integration between Microsoft Sentinel and Office. You can see some of that in this graphic here. And as a result, the Better Together story is much stronger. And we see a lot of those benefits in the new iteration of the workbook. We've also grown the workbook to include analytics rules and a lot of really awesome automation that reduces the burden on your security teams and helps you action some of the findings that we surface. As always, we have a really strong Better Together story between Defender for Cloud and Sentinel, where we give you not only that visibility into your environment, but also steps for automation and response that helps you action on some of the findings that we're seeing. So let's jump in and look through the solution content. So first, as you may be familiar with, is we have the workbook, which is a dashboard type feature in Sentinel. You can visualize the Zero Trust TIC 3.0 framework over 11 control families. As you're familiar with, we have selections for customized reporting. You can look at your entire environment, or you can zero in on one specific family. You can print it or PDF it and use that to share with regulators or as a roadmap. As always, we have the drill down on specific components and a lot of parameters for custom reporting that TJ will show in the demo. Really, the benefit here is we give you the high-level story across tenants, but we also give you the option to drill down in a time-bound assessment and really help you with a lot of use cases across compliance teams or SOC players. We also now have 11 analytics rules that align to the 11 control families. Here we use Microsoft Defender for Cloud recommendations, and we align policy recommendations to a control, and then we measure that control for pass-fail across your environment, and then we automatically alert you to any posture deviations as needed. This will run once a week, so you can get those frequent insights without it being too noisy. And then finally, we want to empower you also to respond. So we have the Zero Trust Playbook that when alerts trigger, it can send an email to your compliance group, or it can post in a Teams chat. You can even send a ticket to ServiceNow or a similar reporting mechanism, and you can do all of this within the automation playbook. So really the story that we're telling here is from beginning to end, from visibility all the way to remediation. And thinking just at a high level about some of the benefits, which we'll show in the demo, is there's a wide audience of teams that would benefit from this. We're seeing mappings across over 50 Microsoft products, which as those products improve, so does the story here. We have amazing visualizations that can be over time, or they can be zoomed in. And then with the playbook and other mechanisms, we also have the ability to respond. So I know there are probably a lot of questions and a lot of different thoughts about the use cases. So TJ, could you walk us through some of the use cases and how we can use this?
Thanks, Lily. Hey, team. TJ Banasik with the Microsoft Sentinel product group. Some of the frequently asked questions that we're seeing are just trying to help you out with common questions that customers will have, and just trying to ease some of those for you guys before we jump into the demo component of it. So one of the great benefits about using workbooks and a better together story between Microsoft Sentinel and Microsoft Defender for Cloud is it scales very dynamically. So if I'm doing this at scale across a large organization, agency, or maybe I'm a managed security service provider and integrator, I might might have a lot of different tenants and subscriptions and workspaces that I need to watch. So we put that together for you in parameters to save you the time to do that. A lot of customers will get kind of lost in, okay, that covers my cloud, but what about my multi-cloud and my on-premise and my hybrid? We're using 50 or so different Microsoft products. If you have them, great. Only Sentinel and Defender for Cloud are required to get up and running. The rest of it provide enrichment. A lot of those tools like Defender for Endpoint are designed to cover endpoint management, Azure Arc and Lighthouse. Defender for Cloud, they're designed to be a visibility layer and abstraction that you can use to watch your virtual environments. You can put these endpoints on premise in your multi-cloud and gather those insights as a very well-rounded ecosystem. So the idea is use Sentinel for its power as a cloud-native SIEM SOAR, onboard your data into there, and then you're able to tell these very strong domain-based solutions. Is this government? Yes, absolutely. We release these into commercial and government in our public previews. So you'll be able to use this solution in all the environments that you have interest in. Can you print save this? Yes, that's one of the stronger use cases for assessors or SOC teams or folks that are looking at posture and visibility. You can print the entire workbook and solution as a PDF, about 120-page report. So if I need to show that to my regulators or my leadership or my CIO, my CISO, I'm able to kick out a report based on the work that myself and team have been doing. Third-party tools, the cool thing about a solution is once you deploy it, you own all the content. It's a visualization and alerts sitting on top of your telemetry. So if we're looking at an endpoint-based panel and it's talking about endpoint detection response coverage against malware within a control framework, we're going to show you out of the box the Microsoft solution, which is Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. But if you have a third-party solution in there, say you got a McAfee EPO or a Semantic Endpoint or CrowdStrike, you're able to kind of look at it as a capability versus a product name and tweak that panel, adjust the telemetry, bring in your third-party ecosystem to help you tell that story and report on it. If you happen to have all the products, fantastic. Some people do, some people don't. You're going to see blank panels in there. So folks will say like, hey, I'm looking at this files-based control pattern and the telemetry component is blank. That's actually a very good thing because it's showing you a point of decision making to say, do I have a control there? Do I have a different product? Do I have visibility in my SIEM? Do I need to put something there? Or is there a health or a posture issue? So it drives decision making to let you know and think about what your posture looks like and where you can harden it, how you can meet TIC 3.0 compliance and zero trust best practice. But blank panels are good. They drive that visibility, let you make that decision. They also provide some custom error messaging on things to think about if you want to get those panels up and running. Last thing is, what if I don't require this standard? So Trusted Internet Connections 3.0 is US government standard and framework. What we found with our community user base are 5,000 plus users using this internationally. A lot of benefits to doing it, a lot of crosswalks to other frameworks such as NIST 853. So use it if you need to be compliant with the framework. If you're interested in seeing a zero trust architecture across an ecosystem in practice, use it. Or if you're just trying to get up and running with the tools. We do embed the survey into all these offerings. So tell us how you're using it. We'd love to know and use that feedback to help us drive these offerings.
Awesome, TJ. That's really helpful. So let's jump into Microsoft Sentinel, and I'd love to have a look at it, and maybe we can focus on some of the new things that we've released.
Cool. Do you think we could advance the slide to the scenario-based? We've got kind of a 5-step process. Just want to walk the team through it before we show the demo.
Yeah, great point.
Very cool. So this is a Shadow IT use case. So Shadow IT is one of the control requirements in TIC 3.0 underneath the enterprise control family. So how am I going to use this solution to help me meet TIC and zero trust? The first thing that I'm going to do as an architect, a security architect, is design and build controls to meet the Shadow IT detection and requirement. So each of the TIC controls within these ZT frameworks is going to have a control card. So it's going to tell me, what does TIC say as a framework that I need to do? It's going to give me a reference to their documentation. It will give me all the Microsoft references and how I can deploy these controls and get up and running with them. It'll show me what products I'm using to tell this story. It'll show the telemetry that I'm using. If I'm new to the telemetry and I want to learn how to build alerts with it, it'll land me in the docs page to get an idea of what that telemetry does. If I'm new to the product or I don't know the product name or capability, I can go into the page, check out what the product can do, what category it is, how do I license it, further references. We are using several products to tell the story. So anytime we reference a product, we'll give you a smart card or a quick sheet to put you onto the product. So if I'm using 2 or 3 different products, I don't want to remember the URLs or how to get to them. So we'll give you hyperlinks to where you can click on each of one of those products. If you got them set up, great. It'll help you navigate the experience. If you don't, it'll help you understand where you can go and learn more about it and interact with it. After you've built the posture, the next thing that you want to do is start to assess it, right? So compliance is not a point in time thing. We're moving away from the annual audit. We need to do this dynamically and frequently over time because cloud changes really fast. So you can also use this workbook now, and this is an improvement over the last version, to assess. So we're using Defender for Cloud security policies. We've aligned them to the TIC frameworks and zero trust principles to let you know when you have a weakness or a gap, and you can start to see where you want to spend your time to remediate and fix it. So once you do see an area that you want to remediate, there are deep links to take you from Microsoft Sentinel into Defender for Cloud. So we're going to tell you what's the recommendation within TIC, what is the policy that we're using, which asset does it apply to, and then give you a deep link to move into that tool seamlessly and fix it. So really giving you a list of exactly what you should do by priority to meet that control, and also quick links to have single click remediations and continually harden your workload and posture. So once you have done that, you probably don't want to have to come back to the workbook every day and continue to check it. You have SOC teams, but most of the time the SOC is driven by alerts and events, right? They want to be notified. So we've released in this new version 11 different analytics rules based on the TIC family. So what it does is looks at your policy compliance, and once a week it'll run an assessment. The default will use 70% compliance. So if I happen to drop down to 60, 50, 40% within a week, I'll get that alert to let me know your posture is deviated within one of the TIC control families. You probably need to think about having a look at that. And lastly, when that alert does fire, maybe I'm somebody that a security engineer, an architect, or I'm a SOC analyst to where I can see these alerts. A lot of times your GRC teams and your governance and compliance folks, they might be in other teams. They might not be as familiar with the tools or have the same access. So maybe they just want to be notified when they've gone and done an audit if that compliance posture changes below what they feel is an acceptable risk posture or threshold. That's where we use the power of Microsoft Sentinel SOAR, Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response, to have automated action. So when that alert triggers saying that you've deviated your enterprise control family posture for Shadow IT, you don't have to go back and look at the alert. It's configured to send you an email and also post in a Teams chat or extensible into a ticketing system like ServiceNow. So when it happens, I know that I have the confidence that I'll be notified in 2 or 3 different mechanisms. It'll give me the 5 Ws of what happened and what it's recommending that I do, with links to go in and remediate that, or at least learn more about what the tools are reporting.
Awesome, very cool.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do now, guys, is walk you through that demo so you can see it in practice and understand what we're doing. The first thing that I want to do is show you how to deploy this content package out of our new Content Hub in Microsoft Sentinel. So when I come into here, I'm going to roll down to Content Management. This is our Content Hub, which we just announced during our annual Ignite conference. So Content Hub is a security marketplace of domain-based solutions. So instead of me having to go and say, okay, I'm going to do zero trust and CMMC or whatever the framework is, in the past, I'd have to go and figure out which analytics apply, what hunting queries and workbooks and notebooks and connectors. There's kind of a lot to it. So now it's more of a turnkey type solution, to where if I search Zero Trust or TIC 3.0, I see a solution. If I go to View Details, it'll pull up the solution, tell me what it is, and then I can go to Create. It's going to bundle all of that content for me in Workbooks. I'm just going to give this a unique name, the analytics rules, and when I go to Review and Create, Requiring information. I probably want to tell it where I want to put it, right? So I'll put it in my workspace. And now that it's happy, it should tell me I can deploy it. I go to create. It's now going to lay down that workbook and the analytics rules and the playbooks into my Sentinel instance where I've got a comprehensive domain solution that I can get up and running with. So while we wait for that, we will go back over to Sentinel and we'll navigate down to the content that is deployed for us. We'll go into Workbooks, which is the first component that we're walking through. And keep in mind, we're still in the Shadow IT scenario. So I'm going to search Zero Trust TIC 3.0, and you'll see that it laid down the workbook. I want to view the workbook. And so when we first come in, you'll see a lot of different things. Across the top, these are our parameters. So these are the things that help us do this at scale. If I'm new to this, I'll get a guide. This is going to give me a getting started, best practices, tell me what I need to do to get up and running with, tell me about the different enrichments with our products. If I'm new to them, I can go to the product pages. If I want to learn more about Zero Trust with Microsoft, I can go to our Zero Trust Deployment and Guidance Center. If I'm new to Trusted Internet Connections 3.0 with the CISSA agency, I can click on their website and go and look at their guidance and learn a little bit more. Once you see it once and you're up and running, great. The helper panels are throughout there. Clicking no will kind of abstract that away to get you to the core of the workload. And so we talked about doing this at scale. If I'm looking at a lot of subs or tenants or workspaces, I don't want to do that manually in query. It's really painful to do that. There's 300 or 400 different queries, alerts, and visualizations in here. So when I select the parameters, this automatically does this for me in all the different places. So right now I'm looking at about 6 or 7 different Sentinel instances and subscription. I can do that at scale by bringing together a lot of things, or also help me to either drill down or create a custom report at scale. I'm able to do this by time as well. So if I want to look at it a week, a quarter, whatever my data set is, custom time zone, I'm able to pull that. Auto refresh is awesome. It's a Workbooks feature. So if I have a component of this workbook that I like and I want to put it on maybe a big screen, some sock flare in the wall, I can tell it that I want it to refresh every 5 minutes to keep the data live and healthy. If I want to use this for one of the more primary use cases, which is going to be assessment and reporting, this is where I go right up here in the top to print content, and it'll print off about 120-page PDF to show me how my posture is within Zero Trust and TIC. So a lot of different options on how to use it. We do want to show you guys the survey. So we're building these offerings based on the community's interests and needs. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you're using the package for, what you want to see next as far as solutions and domain-based offerings. So really love to hear with you guys, learn as a community what we're doing well and what we can do to help you guys out. So the next thing that we'll do is go down into the use case that we had for Shadow IT. So Shadow IT is a control within TIC 3.0 under the enterprise control family. So what I'm going to do is select enterprise, and you'll notice that it populated a sub workbook all around enterprise. So if I'm new to this control family, when I click on it, it'll take me to CISSA's website to learn about TIC and how I set it up and comply with that guidance. I also have a few different control cards within this family. So we're going to select Shadow IT. If I'm building this for the first time, I understand what they're asking for, protecting me against assets that maybe aren't controlled by me or I'm not aware of them in the environment, which could cause some risk or concern. I have Microsoft references telling me how to deploy the tools that I can use to monitor Shadow IT. Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps is one of the stronger ones, so I get a reference to that, as well as the telemetry that we're using, security alerts for Shadow IT, and also the product page if I want to go and learn more about that tool and that offering. I have the different tools, so once I'm set up, I can click into the tools and navigate to them without having to remember what they are. If maybe I've done another assessment in the past, say it's in NIST, I can click on this framework to crosswalk the control and understand that, hey, maybe if I'm already agreeing for PR.IP, I might be covered for this, or maybe I've already put some investments here. So that's how I would get up and running to help me build an architecture to cover that control. I can see right here active alerting and telemetry that's already telling me that in my environment, somebody is uploading my data to a non-approved cloud app. potentially a shadow IT based app. So I get immediate enrichments to say there's something that I care about, there's a hole in my environment. I can jump into the raw telemetry if I want to explore it. But right now I'm a little bit more interested in how to assess this. So now that I've built my architecture, I want to understand how to assess it and get an idea of what my posture looks like over time. So I've selected assessment, and when I go down, I now have a new look at it. So what this is going to do is organize all of the Defender for Cloud security policy and recommendations to the TIC 3.0 control families. So you can see universal security capabilities, which is one of the larger ones, things that you should use for all workloads, and then recommendations in all of these different control families. So one thing to keep in mind is anytime that you have a single asset with a policy recommendation, you'll get a score of 1. So we've set our time threshold to 30 days. So within the last 30 days, I have multiple assets with multiple recommendations, and that's why I'm getting a high count in universal capabilities. Whereas if I go down to something like DNS, that's a single asset with a single policy. I can also see the story over time, and this is where it becomes really interesting, because if I'm looking at my environment on the 15th of October, I'm at a pretty low baseline, pretty static, and it looks like I stayed like that for a few weeks. All of a sudden here on the 22nd of October, and then another pattern in the end of October, I'm getting multiple policy signs that I have weaknesses in my environment, a few hundred of them. Somebody is onboarding assets, changing assets, or creating risk in my environment. So I kind of want to know what that posture is over time. In the past, you'd have to come look at this manually. Now I'll show you in a moment how we use alerts that will tell you anytime you get to this level of deviation. So the next thing that I'm going to do is tweak this down a little bit. I want to go to enterprise because I want to see our shadow IT control family. And what'll happen is it'll now narrow me down into enterprise-based controls within our shadow IT use case. So I can see that I've got 26 recommendations over the last month. I've got a baseline where I've got a handful of recommendations. They're kind of spiking out into November. So this is around the time where that unapproved application may have made its way into my environment and where my data may have started to make its way through that application. So next, what I want to do is go down and start to think about how I can action it. What are the policies that I need to put in place? The first one that I'm getting is applying adaptive application controls for defining a safe application and also giving it a baseline of what software an asset could use. It looks like the administrative PC is the place where I have the most recommendations, so I probably want to apply it to that machine. If I want to see that machine, I can click on it. It'll bring me right into the virtual machine if I have the rights to see it and work with it. So I can change the configurations, understand how to harden it out. But the idea there is so you don't have to go and look for it. You can deep link your way into the asset. So I'll come down here and you'll see a lot of these. It's a way to filter and sort to where you can see the recommendation without having to know the KQL query language. So just trying to save you some time. I can see 2 recommendations for admin PC in shadow IT capability, adaptive application controls. And so here's the recommendation. So now I want to go fix it. This is going to use my credentials. It's going to automatically bring me into Defender for Cloud, which is our cloud workload protection platform. When we get into that, it's going to bring us into that specific recommendation for adaptive application controls, and it's going to bring us into that asset for admin PC. So now that we're here, you can see it's recommending that we apply that. I can get to know what the control is, and then you see I have different groups of protection portfolios. So when I click on the first one, it'll give me a list of assets. It will also give me the ability to apply the profiles on there to make sure that these assets are controlled to where they are using approved applications, approved configurations. And I can also apply an audit to say that if I see something move outside this baseline, please let me know with an alert and give me the chance to respond to it. So that's taken us through the design build, the assess, and the remediate. What if I just want to know about any change to this posture when I'm not sitting at the terminal? And that's where we get into the new packaging and solution for alert rules. So I'm now going to move away from the workbook. I'll go down to analytics. I'm going to search zero trust TIC And when it comes up, you see the solution deployed, a package of those 11 rules. Each one of them is designed for a control family. Selecting the top one for enterprise control, where our shadow IT was. And I'm going to go into edit. We're happy with the defaults. They're already mapped to MITRE ATT&CK. This is the query. So if I want to tell it that I want you to run more than once a week, or maybe the default compliance posture of 70%, maybe I want 80% or 90%, I'm able to tweak it out in the rule. I'm also able to run a results simulation. And what this does is it uses machine learning to cut this detection over time to let me understand how noisy it would be. So if I see this triggering 15 times a day, that's too noisy. It's not going to give me a lot of value. It's set up to run once a week. And what you'll see in the ML models is it's firing once a week. So it's not going to be too noisy. It's going to tell me once a week I need to change my posture until my compliance improves beyond 70% of my thresholds. And then it will not alert until there's a change in that posture. So that lets me actively monitor it without being eyes to glass on the terminal all the time. One of the things to show as well is automated response, and this is where our playbook comes in. So when this alert is triggered, I want it to use that automation that we're giving you to notify the governance compliance team. And that's saying anytime this alert fires, I want you to run this playbook automation, this SOAR playbook to let me know something's going on. So lastly, we'll go over into that playbook to show you what it looks like. Playbooks is our security orchestration and automation response-based capability. It lives within automation in Sentinel. And once I come into automation, I'm going to go to active playbooks. And type notify. We'll expand that just a little bit. Notify governance compliance team. This is the playbook that deploys with our solution. And the last thing we'll pull up is Logic App Designer. So this is your low code, no code way to automate repeatable tasks. So if I notice that my security teams are doing the same tasks over and over again, I want to automate that and put them on the more interesting things that'll help them out with their investigation or their posture-based requirements. So what this says is, with a little work to get up and running, all you do is authenticate to your different requirements. Then a few seconds, you've got an automation that can do what you want, or you can customize it per your needs. And this one will look for the alert that we showed you for configuration monitoring. Anytime that alert is fired, it will post a message into my Teams channel for my governance compliance team. It's going to give me the 5 W's. This is the name of the alert, where it fired, what you should do about it, the tools you can use to learn more. It's also going to send an email to my governance compliance team, dynamically pulling all the details of the event. So if I'm not even in the tools, I'm still going to get an email telling me that I deviated from posture. I need to go and start working with my engineers, my architects, my SOC to figure out, hey, why are we changing in posture? Why has our TIC posture changed? And what can we do to harden it out? So that's what we have for the demo. Lily, back to you.
Awesome, thank you, TJ. That's very cool stuff, and it's really great to see how we've improved the workbook with the feedback from the community. So, would love to see everyone go into Sentinel and have a look at the workbook and continue to give us feedback that we can action on to make it better. So, thanks for joining us today. Bye.
Thanks, team.